Floods, hurricanes, droughts, wildfires, the images speak for themselves. But if we take a closer look, has 2017 been worse than previous years? Certainly, we've seen a series of extreme weather events that have topped all kinds of records. If we zoom in on the United States, for example, in the first 9 months of the year alone, there were 15 separate weather and climate disasters with financial losses of more than $1 billion each. Among them, Hurricane Harvey, the most destructive in US history.
It was just this freaky storm. I mean, it acted crazy. I don't know, I've never seen a storm do that.
So how many extreme events are there normally? Well, from 1980 to 2016, the average was 5.5 per year. Over time, watch that number rise. Scientists warn we probably shouldn't blame all of this on climate change, just the fact that these events were made worse, much worse because of it.
Gives us a little taste of what we will see more frequently in the future if we don't take action. Unfortunately, because of the emissions we put up in the atmosphere over the last century or so, we are going to see extreme weather events for the next several decades. There's no way around that.
Emissions, that dirty word. Despite all the efforts to clean up our act, the amount of greenhouse gases being pumped into the planet is at a record high. A jump of 2% in 2017, that's after being stable for the previous 3 years.
We're not even talking about zero emissions yet. We just do not want to increase the rate of emissions from one year to the next. So we are not even succeeding in that at the moment.
Which leads us to arguably the biggest environmental bombshell of the year. Donald Trump, for many the environment's enemy #1. As US president, he has eliminated or started the rollback of more than 50 environmental rules in just 1 year in office. They include dismantling the Clean Power Plan. Now that's the single most important initiative to curb carbon dioxide from US coal plants.
My administration is putting an end to the war on coal. We're gonna have clean coal, really clean coal.
Approving the controversial Keystone XL pipeline. Now this after the Obama administration blocked it because of its link to climate change. And announcing the US will withdraw from the global Paris Agreement. Oh, and the word climate is being systematically deleted from federal websites. So should the planet just give up now? Well, not so fast. There's still a few reasons to be hopeful, including a counter-movement in the US spearheaded by two familiar faces, Jerry Brown and Michael Bloomberg. During the climate change talks in November, the powerful pair promoted a coalition of states, cities, universities, businesses and religious groups united under the banner, "We are still in." The Paris Agreement, that is.
It is important for the world to know the American government may have pulled out of the Paris Agreement, but the American people are committed to its goals, and there is nothing Washington can do to stop us.
And there's more good news because 2017 saw France and Britain announce they'd outlaw the sale of petrol and diesel cars by 2040. China too is working on a similar ban. So all things considered, did 2017 bring us closer or further away from the point of no return?
I don't think there's a single point of no return, but the more you delay action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, the more you accumulate heat in the climate system, the more you are in a new unknown world with new extreme events for which you have no lessons learned from the past. On a risk scale that goes from 0 to 10, I would rank that 5. So 2017 was a stress test on the Paris Agreement. And what one could have imagined that the step back from the US would have triggered more countries to get out of the agreement. It was not the case. I would rank that as a 6. We did not expect greenhouse gas emissions to drop quickly. So that's basically what we see. We are not on a business as usual scenario, but we are not with sufficient action so that emissions peak and decrease. I would rank that at about 8. They demonstrate a very large vulnerability, whatever the state of development is, whether you go from East Africa to Houston, Texas, or the French islands in the Caribbean. We're not yet adapted to today's climate events. It means we're not ready for tomorrow's more intense events, which are expected as a consequence of further warming.
Perhaps the only way to rate 2017 is to wait and see what the future holds, because only then will we be able to reflect on the actions and consequences of this year. But in the words of the 15,000 scientists who issued a dire warning to humanity in November, make no mistake, soon it will be too late to shift course away from our failing trajectory.